Good morning, everybody. 27th of April, 2023. It's what is it today? It's a Thursday. And, well, it's cold. It's been cold for 2 days. So I'm kind of a little bit underdressed, really. I should be dressed a little bit warmer. Matter of fact, let me show you something here first. What's really here. Look at these. Kind of in the morning, so these things are still coming out. Some of these flowers here. People walking around, yeah. I should mention that too before I get a little bit further, you know. I'm sometimes it looks like paranoia or something like that with people around, but it's actually not so bad as you might think. It's when people are staring at me. See, these people here are not staring at me. You know, they stop and they talk. I was reported to the police twice, and to understand what it's like. This is not New York. This is not the United States. This is not Cyprus, Nicosia, Cyprus. This is not any of those kind of places. This place had a history in the Soviet Union, and things were a lot different. When you go around with a camera in those old days, you're very suspicious, and the police would approach you. And Belarus is a little bit more Soviet Union-ish than a lot of the other countries that have been, so to speak, modernized. Minsk, of course, is a different story. But if you remember, there was a, well, if you can still look online, there was a video vlogger called, well, it was called, his name is Benjamin Rich, but his show was Bald and Bankrupt. And one reason why he was in Belarus, and of course he became famous here, he became the #1 YouTube travel vlogger doing travel videos in Belarus. He went out in the provinces and the poor places and all that. And, you know, it's because it's different here. It's a little bit more different. It's a little more Sovietish than a lot of the former Soviet places. As you notice, like the Baltic states, I was going to say Balkans, the Baltic states, you know, they are doing like maybe not as extreme, well, maybe more extreme than Ukraine, tearing everything down that has anything to do with Russia, destroying it all. And anybody Russian, oh gosh, look at these pigeons here. They're having a community bath. I can show that. They don't. We haven't been having much rain lately, and it was raining the past couple days. Oh, they stopped bathing since I came here. I hope I was showing that properly, because this camera doesn't. It's a little different. And oh, one guy got out. He's looking for a towel, I think. Boy, cold. I don't know. Birds, I guess they don't feel it like we do. What are they, cold-blooded like fish or something? But anyhow, like I'm just saying that the atmosphere is a little bit different here. And a couple times people called police on me because they see me, you know, walking around in these residential areas with a camera. It's a little bit different, I think, if you're walking around maybe way out in the countryside where there practically is not any police. There isn't really so much police in Belarus in the first place. It's not like a police state like the United States is becoming. And I was shocked when I went back to the States, even from Germany, and you go into all these shops, there's a security guard, but now I don't know if there's a security guard anymore. They've legalized shoplifting up to $300 in some places, apparently. Really weird. I don't know. Weird place, the United States. Oh, there's a kitty over there. It looks like he might be sick. Oh, too bad. I don't have any food with me. I never do whenever I come out. I've seen already 4 cats today. Oh, yeah. Well, he's an older cat. I don't know if you can see from here. I don't want to get too close. I'll spook him. How you doing there, boy? I hope he's all right. I hope he's just sitting in the sun. It's still kind of cold. He's still got a lot of his long fur. Most all cats here have long fur. The short-haired, real short-haired cats, I don't think they can make it through a winter if they're strays. Yeah, maybe as a house cat, how it is. And you see, again, how it is here. Look at, I'll show you something. These are pigeons, but if you see what this little dish is, that's probably for cats. The people here in Belarus, they feed stray animals. They feed cats and dogs, and there's even a dog that hangs around our apartment building. Has a collar on, but he's always outside. And I take my cat out for walks, and he has chased my cat before. Maybe when it first saw it, I don't know, it's kind of slowing down now. My cat sees the dog and the dog sees the cat, and maybe they're a little bit understanding each other a little bit better. I don't know. But anyway, that's just other trivia information. But as I was just saying, it's like going around here with a camera is a little different than in other places. So it's I don't really like people staring at me, you know, and then you see them talking and looking at me, and sometimes they stop whatever they're doing and they're staring at you, and I don't know, I don't like that. But it's when you're walking, it's a lot easier. And I notice, like, most people that do this, say Mike Jones, I. Earl Grey, or Alex Christoforou, most of the time they're walking around. And here, if you stop and you sit somewhere, a lot of time, see, there's people around, and you know, and it's their maybe apartment area. Even the one where I'm living, I stop, and they stop and they stare at you and talk about you and things like this. See, look at, if I were to go here, heck, just turning the camera that way, people might report me. I don't know. I have to admit that they're actually decent people here, and they don't want any kind of weirdos running around. They don't have that here like in the States, pedophiles and everything everywhere. I'm sure that there's some things like that happen, and I tell you what, I've lived in countries where men, even in with their own daughters and things, terrible stuff. So I don't even want to talk about that stuff, all this unpleasant stuff. Maybe I should mention something, because I'm on unpleasant things right now. There is, I was talking about, like, certain things you hear about that's going on in Ukraine, and a lot of people have mentioned, well, not a lot, some people have mentioned, like the drug trade, a huge drug trade there. They're drugging the soldiers to keep them awake for longer periods of time, and drugs that make them less fearful, so they'll take risks. You know, alcohol is like that anyway. A lot of drugs are like that. So they go out and, you know, get themselves killed a lot easier. So that's drug trade. There's a lot of other things too. And I saw recently that Mike Jones of I. Earl Grey, he uploaded a video, and I didn't watch the video. It was just recently, before I left my house. I think it was just put up yesterday, 26th, and it was about, and it was with John Mark Dougan. Of course, John Mark Dougan brings up a lot of these subjects that a lot of people, you know, they don't have a stomach to really talk about. And there's an organ trade, and I guess, at least in the title, what the title said, and Mike Jones, it's not like, there's a few people that are vloggers that maybe give misleading titles to their videos, and of course a lot of that is done in the corporate media, as you know, stories or videos themselves. But it says that the organ trade is going through, apparently it's through the United States, and normally organ, you know, people, you know, selling organs, like taking them out of people unknowingly or without their consent or whatever, sometimes with consent. There was Brazilians doing that, and it's, a lot of time it's always going through Israel. But now I guess it's going through, at least in the case of Ukraine, and partly, I don't know, I didn't watch the video like I say, but it's going through the US. And the problem is, the worst part about this is, it involves children. They're taking organs from children and selling them in the US. The lighting is better this direction. Yeah, they're taking them out of children and selling them in the US. And in light of that, you can put two and two together, which is not very difficult in this case. When Vladimir Putin, he evacuated a lot of children out of probably the Donbass area, I don't know, or maybe what was occupied Ukraine, because he's not going to go into Ukraine and then go steal children or something. Maybe that's what they're trying to make everybody think when they want him to appear before the International Criminal Court. You know, there's a big story going on about that too right now. South Africa, even Alex Christoforou talked about that. I might mention it, but he's trying to move these children into a safer environment, and they're acting like that's a crime. That's a crime to move them out of a war zone where the Ukrainian highest people in their government, Petro Poroshenko, who was the president of Ukraine, had said joyously, and I mention this a lot of times, and other people do too, that they are bombing children. They will be hiding in their basements while the Ukrainian children are all going to school and getting educations and going into university. He bragged about that once. And their children in the Donbass area will spend their whole entire childhood hiding in the basement from all the bombings that they're doing. Can you imagine that? And the United States acts like that was never said. And it's on video. Yes. So they're really nice people over there in Ukraine. Yeah, but anyway, as far as how that goes with the International Criminal Court, South Africa was highly considering getting out of, dropping that. What was this? Where did they make some law? Was it Brazil or something like that? You know, agree to some sort of thing, but they were going to drop out of that. And then something happened where they're not dropping out. And Alex Christoforou was mentioning that. So, it was, I think it was in South Africa was saying, we misspoke. And obviously, it's a really big deal for them not to drop out, because remember all that stuff with apartheid and Nelson Mandela and all that sort of stuff. And I think a lot of that had something to do with the International Criminal Court. And if South Africa drops out of the International Criminal Court, then I think the whole thing just kind of explodes. The USA is not involved in it. Russia's not involved in it. They're not a party to it. A lot of Western countries are not a party to it. And South Africa, if they're not a party to it, that's one of the founding members of the BRICS nations. It's one of the leading nations in Africa. And if they drop out of it, it doesn't look very good. So I suspect that there was some sort of a talk. And I think South Africa, as a matter of fact, they came out and said that all that is a mouthpiece, apparently, something like a mouthpiece for the powerful governments. So what's the point in actually being in it? I think that might have been the president of South Africa that actually said that. So that doesn't sound very appealing. I'm sure you'll all agree. Sounds marvelous, huh? So that's enough said on the International Criminal Court. Look at this area. I'll just show it to you. Yeah, cold. Nose is starting to run a little bit. Terrible. Oh, there's a Belarusian lady here. Actually, the young lady just went by too. I didn't show that. I should show something for the young men here too. So I may kind of made a full circle here. But a lot of what I wanted to talk about today was Alex Christoforou and his video. So I already mentioned Mike Jones, IRO Gray, but Alex Christoforou had a fantastic video. He's talked a lot about Tucker Carlson, put in a lot of information, he must have really been looking, got a lot of good opinions about this and what the real truth of all this is. And of course, I think it was a lot of comments from other people, and one of them was that they didn't get rid of Tucker Carlson for anything that he said and did, but what he will say and do. And there's a lot of truth to that. It's also what he did, because know them by their fruits, and they don't like what he does, so they know what he will do. So they got rid of him, and it's just right in time for Joe Biden declaring that he's going to go for re-election. No surprise there. bird up there. You know, other things too, such as the dollar's crashing and all these countries moving away from the dollar. I think I wrote some notes about that. I haven't got to that yet, but let's talk about a little bit more about this. So it was his video, Alex Christoforou. Mostly I want to comment about his videos. It was really great. It was from the 26th, and yeah, there was apparently Tucker Carlson still has still 18 months left on his contract with Fox News, and somebody was saying that because this comes in line with during the time for the presidential election, that they were trying to bench him so that he can't say anything. I believe there's some sort of a clause that he can't be coming out and doing news anywhere else. So that's why probably we haven't heard from Tucker Carlson since that time. And of course, he's hired a lawyer, probably a very good lawyer. I forgot the name. And Don Lemon, I guess, has got the same lawyer. It was the same lawyer that Megyn Kelly hired. And I don't know much about what happened with Megyn Kelly, but you know, I like Megyn Kelly. So anyway, that was has something to do with the same thing. Very good lawyer, I presume, and maybe it's to kind of, so to speak, ungag him. So apparently, I don't know, or maybe that they have to let him do his show. I don't know. We'll find out. Still developing, as you all know. Yeah, Tucker was talking about a lot of you know, the corruption of the Bidens, the pharmaceutical industry. Apparently, that's recently he said something. A lot of people said, oh, they're firing him because he's exposing a lot of this corruption or whatever it is about Pfizer or something, because they're the ones that fund the news. And just think about that. Think about that anyway. I mean, I knew they funded CNN, but just think, do you think these people are going to badmouth the truth about these pharmaceutical, medical, what do you call it, medical interventions during this time of the pandemic? How do I talk around all this to make sure that I don't say certain words that the algorithms are going to, you know, do what they've done to me already before and shut me down, you know, for a couple of weeks, or matter of fact, forever probably this time. I think I have a couple strikes already against me, so you can't really mention a lot of this stuff, at least not my name. But remember that thing we went to starting at the very end of 2019, you know, and then when they came out with medications supposedly to alleviate any kind of negative effects of getting sick from this sickness. So we know what I'm talking about. Anyway, but he was mentioning some sort of deals with these companies that made vast sums of money, as you know, and of course they fund most of these news shows. So guess what? What was it Mike Rivero said from one of the things he always stresses from his site, whatreallyhappened.com, to find out who controls you, just find out who you're not allowed to criticize. I remember with that expression. I remember also when you had, who was it, Newt Gingrich, who used to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives. He was talking, he mentioned something about old gorgeous George Soros. I don't know. Apparently I can say his name. I've done it before, but they shut him up on the news. He said, "Oh, I'm not supposed to speak about him." So, you know, Trump mentions him too. So he is the what do you say? He is the glue that runs between the neoconservatives. You know, as you know, is great friends with Robert Kagan and Victoria Nuland, some of the top neocons on earth. And he's also good friends with Clintons and Obama. As you remember, well, maybe you don't remember, maybe a lot of people don't know, but it was stressed that old gorgeous George and Obama were two of the, I don't know how many people founded Black Lives Matter. That was at the beginning, and I think I mentioned that before about Ferguson, Missouri, when you had even these major corporate news networks going there, and they were trying to make that out to be some sort of a racial violence, but it wasn't. It was people protesting against police brutality, white people and black people, and then they tried to steer the interviews when they were talking to people on the street as if blacks and whites are fighting against each other or something like that. And I don't think there was any real violence like that anyway there. It was just a big protest about police violence. So anyway, and they turned that into something different eventually during the next year, and they turned it into riots. And you remember all the businesses burning and how many, particularly black people, and a lot of children died during those riots. Mostly all black people. So Black Lives Matter, but I guess it doesn't matter to those that are in the organization of Black Lives Matter. You know, Black lives don't matter to them, apparently. And there's something falling here. And not only that, there was something else I would want to say about Black Lives Matter. It was about that founding. She was not a founder. There was some woman, as you know, and she soon became, I guess, the top person in Black Lives Matter. And I remember Candace Owens went to her house with just two people and a reporter, and then she, helping her, one with a camera or something, and another person, who knows what, and they were in their nice clothes. It's not like they're out there to do any kind of activities. Anyway, this woman was like crying on some liberalist television show and said Candace Owens or something was coming to attack her. Matter of fact, they filmed it. And she just went to knock on the door and ask her, why she bought a house in a predominantly, matter of fact, completely white neighborhood. And anyway, she was exposed as communist. But I remember Black Lives Matter when they started out. Who was it? There were three people. One was of course, one was Obama, one was George Soros, and then there was probably the black-skinned guy that was supposed to be the so-called quasi-revolutionary guy that's leading the whole thing. And there were two white bankers, also George Soros bankers, two white bankers in California that were handling all the financial side of, getting all this money and whatnot. So I've forgotten their names a long time ago. It's probably all wiped from the internet. You know how things are going. Cancel culture all over. But I should mention that too. I was talking about Belarus a little bit earlier when they're canceling culture in a lot of cats around here. I've seen cats all over the place. Looks like some males. Last places I went, a lot of female cats, all pregnant, terrible. Belarus tries to get these cats and fix them and vaccinate them. They're strays, and they get them and they take care of them and they set them out again if they can't find homes for them. And a lot of people, I don't know why they apparently set their cats out. I'm guessing. I don't know. But anyway, I was talking about cancel culture. Yeah, they're doing that in these other countries. They don't do it so much here. You find the Lenin statues. They don't really even like Vladimir Lenin, but they leave his statues up because it's a part of their history and their culture. And I don't know. I'm going to be trying to go to a place when I move to Minsk, and hopefully this summer. And it's a place near Minsk where it's apparently, from what I've heard, there's a lot of places in Belarus where a lot of people, there was a lot of massacres here, a lot of during World War II from the Nasties and the Banderites. Well, the Banderites are just a brand of the Nasties. So that's and anyway, I don't know how many people were killed there. They have some movies and things, and everybody talks about, Polish people were killed by the Banderites. The Nasties did this in that country, but they never talk about Belarus. Belarus, they lost far more people than, as a percentage-wise, than the Poles did, or the Russians. The Russians, they lost a lot of people in the fighting, but a lot of the Belarusian people died in massacres from the Nasties coming through here. And the Nasties were from the south, from Ukraine, and then rolling over through Poland and coming here. And they took Poland a little bit earlier, the Nasties. And sure, there was a lot of stuff going on over there too. But far more happened here. They lost them here. A lot of people in battles, as well as in the the nasties and massacres, and they loved, from different sides. They loved to stick them all in like big buildings, barns, wrap chains around it, gasoline the place, and set it on fire. That's a famous MO here in Belarus. I mean, what they did to the people here in Belarus happened all over the place, and that's one of the places that I plan on going to. That happened there, so it's near Minsk. And I didn't even think that the Ukrainians were really active over there by Minsk, but I shouldn't say Ukrainians. I should say the Banderites, because there's that part of Ukraine was really not part of Ukraine at that time. That was part of Poland, I believe. That's Galicia during those years. So it's sort of erroneous saying Ukraine, although Stefan Bandera, he was trying to create a Ukraine. I don't even think, no, Ukraine did not even exist as a country. They existed, I think, like for 1 year in 1918, and all the other time they're just a part of Russia. So, and then there was that movement over there in Galicia, which to a lot of the cat over there too, to a lot of the time, I guess belonged to Poland. So it's really weird stuff, and where the borders were and all that. So it's kind of confusing. And I'm not a big history major on this part of the world. Like I said, I studied a lot about German history, but not so much about this history here. I think Scott Ritter would have a lot to say. Matter of fact, somebody should send this video to Scott Ritter, and he should probably, or even I think Colonel McGregor. They're very good in the history of this area. I think that was probably their major when they were in university. At least they specialized in history, obviously. So and probably from these areas, which I didn't. So I want to hear from them. I want to hear them talk a little bit more, because a lot of this stuff they try to, as you see, they're Poland and Ukraine. They're trying to bring this history all back. So so anyway, let me find out more of what I'm talking about. I was actually just trying to get to about Tucker Carlson. Let's see. Okay, Poland. They want to cut off. No, it's actually not Poland. It's the European Union in conjunction with the Ukraine. They want to cut off, all kinds of gas supplies going, not just from the pipelines, I believe. As you know, they have this embargo, thing in the works. They're trying to figure out how to make some kind of embargo between Russia and Europe. So, but right now they're trying to cut off all the gas that's coming from Russia, maybe through Belarus or any place, and goes into Europe. And then they have this idea just to allow this pipeline that goes through Ukraine. And I think that's Ukraine. I think Alex Christoforou was, I don't know, maybe given the impression, but I think he knows. And I think that's Ukraine that was actually made that proposal to only allow gas going to Europe through, maybe it's not gas, I think it's oil. I think it's oil pipeline going through Ukraine and into Europe. So, and yes, it's a good idea, I think Alex Christoforou said. I love his Zelensky voice there, his Zelensky character. So, but I think that's the lower portion of the Druzhba pipeline, the friendship pipeline. And it's like they think it only takes one to tango. It takes two to tango. What do you think Russia's part in that is going to be? So is Russia going to be sending gas and oil through these pipelines, especially when there's only one? They had the other things blown up. And then what's that, transit costs, things like that. I'll tell you what, I think there's a branch of the Druzhba pipeline that goes into Hungary, of course. Maybe it's a tributary, and it makes you wonder if in the future, if this goes a little bit faster. But of course, that's part of this western part of Ukraine, and a little bit more to the north. Well, the north, It's not to the north, but it's I mean, it's north compared to Crimea and Odessa, but it really makes you wonder if this is all going to end, and somehow this territory is going to be friendly to Russia, or is the entirety of Ukraine supposed to be friendly to Russia? Russia wants security. Ukraine says they want security, but they don't. They want domination. You all know that. They've even said that. How long have they been saying that? They want nuclear bombs to bomb Russia. They said that long ago. They said that probably before 2014. And it really makes you wonder. You all have the same opinion that I do. How can you get so many people to be just consumed with hatred? I'd like to be talking about this a lot in my future videos. It's just incredible. You know, how can you think? It's sort of like like I said, the new Jews. And Alex Christoforou was talking about, that's a little bit different. It's how the EU or the West, he said the collective West is becoming Ukraine, and Ukraine is becoming the collective West. So whatever actually what they're doing, they're taking a lot of their negative aspects and transferring them back and forth and leaving the positive ones behind. So you have this like transgenderism and all that sort of stuff. It's a social thing. Actually, that's a minor concern compared to a lot of the other things that are going on in the world. And you know, Ukraine is adopting all that kind of stuff, homosexuality and transgenderism and whatever is crazy they're going to take on too, as long as the West says so. Maybe they're going to do it only temporarily. And I was, like I said, living in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and the Prime Minister used to laugh at, for example, like, you know, make light of homosexuals and lesbians and all that, you know, just allude hintingly. And then at one point he changed, and I don't know if that's the same time he changed about many other things. He's the same guy that wants to force everybody to get vaccinated. I mean, you can go on and on. What I didn't like originally about him, and there are things I do like about him, believe it or not, but what I didn't like originally is his economics. You know, it's if you guys out there know, you know, you can take economics and you can divide it into two parts, and it's just like a straight line, and you move down to one side, it's demand side, and you move to the other side, and it's supply side. And when based on certain, you know, criteria of your environment and your culture, even plays a role. A lot of people maybe don't think so, but your access to resources, your topography, and all of that stuff, that determines on whether you should be stronger into supply side economics or demand side economics, as well as your location. And you see, the United States was the first supply side economy in the world, and that's similar to what you would say maybe Adam Smith was talking about in The Wealth of Nations, and or The American Dream. And it's a lot of supply side economics, as you know, is lowering taxes and regulations and things. And of course they've moved farther away from that. And then you can say, like, for example, socialism seems a lot more like demand side, even though that's not necessarily true when you look at China, for example, or even look at Singapore. Singapore is a very strong supply side economy, very low taxes, low taxation, and regulations are not so bad either. But like I said, you have to consider your culture. Look at Germany, for example. They are more of a demand side economy. They weren't always that way, so they have quite high taxes, and the German system is a lot different. They can handle a huge, heavy bureaucracy, and very, very efficient. It's because they're very efficient, and they can go through all this stuff and do it relatively fast. And I was in the Caribbean. They can't do that fast. Everything, little steps take forever. They take forever to do a little tiny task. I don't even understand how that is. See, when you're living in places that were more efficient, say I came from Germany and moved to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Germans, of course, are very efficient, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, very inefficient, very inefficient. And matter of fact, you can say Russia is sort of in between that. And their tax taxes are sort of in between that too. I think they have a corporate income tax of 30%. I'm not quite sure what it is. I think Germany is the same actually. But when they're less efficient than Germany, and those are some of the main factors, you know, they have a lot of resources, as you know, in Russia. Actually, Germany has more than what you think they do too. There's a lot of resources in Germany, and anyway, I like this economics. We'd probably be better off listening to Jeffrey Sachs, or maybe even better, Paul Craig Roberts, who I've mentioned in a video recently. But it's all fascinating, and you can determine from a lot of factors on what a country should be doing with their regulations and what their tax rates should be and all that. And mostly what I want to say is St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a small island, just like a lot of those Caribbean islands. If they don't wake up and pull their heads out of their backsides, you know, they're always going to be a poor region, you know. Unemployment like 50%. It's just terrible. They did make a move, like say I was in business. I had businesses in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and they changed the tax system a bit. Not tax system, their duty system. They normally have very high duties. Like I said, to get a car in, it's 150% duty. If you say anything that's electronic, you know, it's at least 40% customs duty. And then you look at the United States, where at that same time it was 6% to get electronics. And it's also quite low here in Belarus, I'm noticing, because the prices, of course, are quite a bit lower. But the West has noticed that too. The West has noticed that there is a huge improvement in the economy in Belarus, and probably Russia too, because they're changing a lot of things. And their way to get around this, to screw up the economy here, is these these embargoes and things like that, blocking things off. Like one thing was, I don't know about, I think they send everything by truck now to Belarus. You know, containers and whatnot, it used to be, but now they've shut that down too. They're shutting lots of things down, and a lot of things have to go through third countries from maybe Kazakhstan or places down there, anything that's coming from the West. So Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, as well as in Russia, as you notice. Well, maybe you didn't notice that. I mean, I know that here, because what's on their mind and what's in their mouths, what they're saying constantly is import substitution, import substitution. So they're making a lot of new products here, and of course with all these sanctions and things and boycotts and these companies pulling out, Russia is making a lot of advancement. Belarus, I heard Alexander Lukashenko is they're not making quite the advancement that he wants, and it's a little bit stagnant at this moment. So they're not coming up with a lot of substitutions at the moment. So, but they did a lot in these later years. It's incredible. You come here, you know, there's a lot more products. You know, beer. Well, I could be rattling on like this forever, but economics is kind of fascinating to me, and seeing how, because you know, you live in a country. Think about it. You live in some place, and you want to know, well, why is it not so good, or why is it good, or why is it better, or why is it worse? And to me, that's a big thing. To me, that's a big thing. And like I said, I've seen vast improvement from when I was here in Belarus before. Vast improvement. It was just incredible. It's like a completely different country. And I just trying to see why, looking at prices and things like that. And then you see, like, there's a lot of Belarusian people. I don't really know what a percentage it is, you know, and they don't like the government. At least they say they don't. And I don't know to what extent. Like I said, I talked to somebody that doesn't like the government, and I don't know nothing, but at the same time, he said he would never vote for the opposition. So, because I told him, I said, well, you know, what, do you like the opposition? She has no experience. This female Juan Guaido of Belarus, and she has no experience. I don't even know any job she ever had, ever, except for housewife or something like that. And yet she's the Juan Guaido. She is the self-appointed president of Belarus, and she maintains that she won the election. And I don't know that she was ever able to count the votes. So how does she know that? But as you know, Juan Guaido, recently he went into Colombia. He went there for something and they kicked him out. So he's not welcome. He's a nobody now. And who was it? Alex Christoforou was saying that's going to be the fate, the destiny of Tikhanovskaya, the self-appointed president of Belarus, in exile in Lithuania. So at least by the time the next election comes about, I doubt very much if she's going to run. If she's going to run, she's going to run in exile. And does that mean that she thinks she's going to win when she doesn't even come to Belarus? Matter of fact, you know what? She was not even kicked out of Belarus. She ran away. She got out of Belarus. That was her choice. He was not going to arrest her because I don't think he has. I don't know. I don't know if there was if he accused her of any crime, even all these protests and whatnot. Of course, that could be. You could easily find some kind of a crime there. Everybody seems to in every country. Look at Paris. Far, far worse than anything that happened in Belarus. Brutal beatings of protesters and things. So that was far, far more violent than in Belarus. But of course, the West is going to make sure that you see any kind of protest or anything that's happening in Belarus or Russia. They're going to make sure that you see that. So, but when you have tens of thousands of people in all these other westernized countries, there's not even mentioned. Isn't that incredible? They had so many protests in the recent past times. So, yes, anyhow. And another thing, let's talk about this this new law that's coming out in the European Union, that they're going to be penalizing. Everywhere I go, there's somebody coming. I don't want to be walking next to people and looking at them. But there is this new law coming out that these media programs, Alex Christoforou was talking about that. He might have talked a little bit more about it. I just want to mention it, that they're going to penalize people, these platforms such as YouTube or Twitter, for the people that put up information, like you put a tweet out, and of course they're going to love to go after Elon Musk, because what this is trying to kill any freedom of speech, any freedom of a different opinion. So they're gonna fine these platforms like Twitter and YouTube for the content of what their users put up, their subscribers, or their users or their creators. So if for example, somebody says some crazy thing like a virus was man-made and it came out of a laboratory, that's misinformation, and they'll be heavily fined if somebody said that on YouTube. But we know nobody would ever say that. That's ridiculous stuff, you know. And of course, these vaccines are great. They work. They've saved thousands of lives. All these young people they're dying of unknown causes. You've seen it yourself. You've seen it. They're saying that in the news, and the news wouldn't lie to you. They wouldn't lie to you now, would they? It's unknown causes of all these young vaccinated people that are dying. It's unknown causes. Because they wouldn't. Because look at the time. It was only a couple of months. But look at the time they put into developing these vaccines. As you know, Operation Warp Speed. I tell you what, if I was the one that had any involvement in that, I would probably keep my mouth shut. I wouldn't be talking about it anymore. Seeing as the result of this medical intervention that happened ever since this sickness came out in 2019. Makes you sick, doesn't it? Anyway. Yeah, anyway, big fines. And there was, I remember, and I think other people were mentioning it, there was a suspicion that, you know, when Zelensky, he went to Poland, and I think they were even alluding that there's some big special thing happening, and everybody already knew about this, what do you call it? Oh, my nose. Everybody already knew about this counteroffensive that was supposed to be happening. I don't know if it still is. I don't. You hear a lot of people saying it's put off indefinitely, maybe. But I think he has to have it. You know, shooting up. You know how they're shooting off their mouth in Ukraine all this time, saying, "Oh, this is going to happen. This is what we're going to do." You know, I don't know. It's kind of like a form of bragging. Look how powerful we are going to be, and we'll show you. But it was like they were telegraphing there's going to be some kind of a big surprise thing, and Russia's going to be devastated from it, or whatever. I mean, I can't remember what they were trying to indicate, or what they're trying to say. But Alex Christoforou was talking about it. He said there's something up, because there was a lot of movement of these politicians and the people going around and doing this and that, you know, from the so-called the eastern part of the West, I guess, Poland and Ukraine, and something might have just recently happened, because I think that was probably what it was, and maybe they thought it would be more devastating than it actually is. But Lukashenko was also mentioning that they're now making it even much more difficult for people from at least Belarus and probably Russia to go through any sort of land borders, not air, like I'm saying. That's all cut off anyway, going by air. But these land borders by car between Belarus and the Baltic states or Poland. So they're making that more difficult. They're cutting that off even more than they already have. So I'm wondering if I can even go there. I was thinking maybe I have some things still in Germany. I was thinking I would have to go there very shortly, just for a couple days, because I'm not even sure if they're even going to let me in. If they know about my YouTube channel or not. Latvia, you know, getting some crazy stuff going on over there too. But what's going on is also not just the shutting the borders a lot more, but Poland has apparently, you know, they have some diplomatic staff still in Poland, the Russians do, and they've frozen their bank accounts, cut them off, froze them, whatever. I don't know, maybe had them close them down. So any sort of payments now are very, very difficult, even to buy food, to make traveling expenses, probably to take some little train ride, all very, very difficult now. And since they close the borders a lot more, it's going to be very difficult to get these people funds just to live over there. And anyway, to do any kind of money transactions, this is going to be kind of interesting. But I'm thinking, I don't know about this, you know, when they cut these people off, that was a point I wanted to make. I was thinking here, there's something else to this. They, for example, shutting down these borders a lot more. So I don't know. It makes me wonder what about these the citizens of Latvia and Lithuania. Estonia doesn't have a border with Belarus, but I'm not sure if Poland is involved in this sort of thing either. But I mean, I know they are, as a matter of fact, because you know you have a lot of operatives in Belarus from the West, and they're linked also to these states. So I'm wondering if they're going to be able to cross the border or not, or how they're going to be communicating with all their operatives. And they have well over 1,000. They probably have thousands of them in Belarus. So whenever something comes down, they could get these people on the streets to protest. And it's just like they have these offices in other places, and you know, and I think a lot of them, they would have their meetings. I don't know if there's any in Belarus really, but obviously they meet. They obviously meet in Belarus, but they have to be a lot more covert. But they have them like in Kazakhstan and all that, where they sit around and watch CNN. I already mentioned that, and everybody knows about that. And they're training them to what to do when when the when it hits the fan. You know, how to organize protests and what to do. They give them money. As a matter of fact, a lot of these people are on salary. And of course, I know that there are people getting money in Belarus from or through Poland because just trust me on that. Just trust me on that. I don't want to say anything more about that. So, yeah, but just the regular citizens from Latvia and Lithuania, they come to Belarus and fill up their cars because the gas is cheaper, and they go shopping. They go to the supermarkets and whatnot because it's much better over here than it is in a lot of those Western countries. I don't know about Germany. Germany's probably very good, but a lot of these other countries, it's not quite so nice over there as it is in Belarus. So, and I noticed that. I don't know if they see this, that I you know, if I'm trying to go over there, because you know, if you go on a bus, you're looking out the window, obviously. If you're I don't know if you're reading a book, but anyway, I looked out the window, and you compare Belarus by looking out the window, and then once you get into Latvia, it's like, oh, geez. And it's seriously, it is like the old days when you went from the west to the east, starting with Poland, for example. You know, looking out the train window, because then I would look, you know, you could go by train, but they cut off all train travel to Belarus. You know, that was even some years ago. And so you're looking out the window, and it was just a lot more beautiful in Germany. And I think it still is probably in Germany, but apparently it's not so beautiful. It wasn't really so great in Poland, and there is no improvement really in Poland, apparently, from what I'm hearing. And I don't know what it was like. I never went to Latvia or Lithuania, but it's just better in Belarus. And I challenge you to do that. I challenge you to take a train. No, not a train. There is no train. To take a bus ride. Losing my voice. Take a bus ride. Maybe through those countries, and then come to Belarus, and you'll see that there's a difference. I don't need to say anything more about that. So, and of course a lot here. You know, you see things, and it's strange, but see, maybe these buildings are not so pretty, and the way they're built, like very quickly, but they're made efficiently enough. And a lot of these ones here, of course, these are for like Khrushchev time or whatever, and they're not quite as nice. Things are a lot better now, I believe, all over in Belarus. But what I wanted to say was about that. It's not the build of these things, but it's how this is organized. And these are mostly all owned by the government. So so that's one reason why it's very cheap to live here. So all of your bills, you know how things are. So that's the socialistic part. Like I said, it's a hybrid government, like most of these. Every place is a hybrid government, really, when you look at it. The United States is a hybrid government. It's not capitalist. There's a lot of socialism there. Germany is too. What was one of the first socialist countries? Germany, believe it or not. Socialist legislation from Bismarck, and he had to do that because socialism was getting so strong. So he adopted a lot of things like unemployment insurance and all that sort of stuff. And I think that was the 1880s. But anyhow, what I was going to say here about here in Belarus, your apartments are really cheap. Everything is really cheap in there. So even if you do not want to come here, if you can get here to get an apartment, to buy an apartment, say for example in Minsk, and the prices are still not quite so high at all, really, much cheaper than any other major city. So say if you get an apartment and you can pick one up, say for $80,000, what size? Well, depending on where you live outside. In Baranovichi here, things are a little bit expensive, and I don't really know why. They're almost like Minsk, almost. But, well, I don't know, maybe they're 20% cheaper here. But you go to some of these other small towns, you can get some things really cheap. Like I told you, you can find a piece of land for $1,000 US, and a good piece of land where you can actually do some farming on it. So I've seen, that was a couple of years ago, I saw some place with a house on it near, oh gosh, Molodichno. Uh, how far away was that from Minsk? Maybe it was 100 kilometers, 150 from Minsk, and it was $500. $500 for well, it was a good sized plot of land. It wasn't, for a lot of farming, but it was a good sized plot for $500. I don't know what the other additional fees would be, for getting it, but anyhow, what did I want to say? I was going to say that it would behoove you to get an apartment because your costs are not anything like it is in the West. For example, when you have all your bills, in Germany, in a medium-sized town, I saw there was an apartment. It was more expensive, and your monthly fees, what you have to pay every month, just your maintenance costs, and this is to me shocking. It was like 250 euros for just your maintenance costs, and that does not include your electricity or your water bill. I'm assuming it covers your heat. It normally always covers your heating costs. And how that's done is there's one heater meter in the house, in any big house, or every stairwell, and they read that meter, and it's all divided up between all those people that are living on that stairwell is what your heating bill is going to be. So that's how that one works. Very similar here. And like hot water in a lot of places is and heating is centralized heating. It's piped from a centralized place, say within the city, and it's piped into your apartment building. And I think when I was here in the winter, I was showing you, you can see where the heating pipes run because that's where the snow melts first. It's interesting. But so say in Minsk or here in Baranovich, approximately what you pay, and I'm talking about your full bill, your maintenance cost, your water bill, heating bill, of course, electricity bill, probably telephone. We're not going to get a telephone, I don't think. Cable TV, garbage pickup, all of that stuff. It's like under 60 US, or 60 US, under 60 US dollars a month. And in Germany, I think for some regular place, when you include all of those things, it's a lot higher. I think you're definitely over 300 euros when you're not even living there. When you're not even living there, by the way. Say not even have your heat turned up, not using any water probably, just your regular bills. I tell you, I was shocked. I was shocked when I had a house in Germany. I was shocked about the costs, not even living there. Like, I'm glad I'm out of that. But over here, say if you want to at least have a safe haven, a place when the stuff really hits the fan in the West, and I would suggest you take Gonzalo Lira's advice and get out of Dodge. Say if you can afford it, get an apartment. There's even a guy here, I think his name is, Andre? I think it's called Minsk Guide. I intend on meeting him when I'm living in Minsk, and he speaks very perfect English, and he helps everybody from all over the world, Ireland. He's got lots of clients, people, and they come here and they buy apartments and they buy houses or something in Minsk or in the surrounding area, and he helps you out. And I think he even has a language school for Russian, probably a little expensive because everything's expensive in Minsk from that part, in that area, like language. I know it's very cheap here. This is a better place to learn, but they don't have so many classes. Since COVID came, everything was shut down quite a bit here, so they haven't really gotten anything going really good yet, again, since COVID. They had a year and a half where they had no classes at all. And it's not because of Belarus, it's because of other countries. People couldn't get here. And Belarus never shut down. It's one of the few countries that didn't shut down. Larger countries, I mean. There's probably some smaller countries, I don't know. Did they lock everybody in? They didn't do that here in Belarus. So, they kept freedom? Freedom? Wait a minute, we're supposed to be an evil dictator here. Gosh, like forcing you to get back. Oh, no, wait a minute, that's what they do in the free countries. They make you get vaccinated. They lock you down. But this is an evil dictator. So, It's just a different system, I'm telling you. There's things that may look like dictatorship here, even though I haven't really seen any yet. I see a lot more of that in the West. You know, again, like I was going to say, what Alex Christoforou was saying, like Ukraine has been becoming the West, and the West is becoming Ukraine. But I've said in other videos, it's a tremendous revolution. You know, a revolution is a turning over. That's you know, a lot of people, like Americans, how we're made to think a revolution is some big battle or something like that, and fighting or something. You know, but a revolution is seriously a turning over. It's like, say, the bottom becomes the top and the top becomes the bottom, and that's very much what happened in these last, what do you say, maybe since 9/11? When did this stuff all kick off? Maybe a little bit before that? Oh, I'm getting cold, boys. I gotta get out of here when the sun's not shining. Anyway, it's a turning over, and over here in the former East is more like the West used to be, and in the West is becoming more like the East used to be. Censorship, all that sort of stuff. So, what is it? Back in the USSR, not the USSR. Anyway, so none of that stuff. Yeah. But I don't know if I have anything else more to say. But like I said, I'm kind of disgusted about this organ trade with children, and that's probably what they're doing. Some world's getting really nasty, people. So I don't know. I want to be addressing this stuff a lot more, and when time goes by. Somebody looks like somebody that will report me. I don't know. But right when she gets home, right here. It's I think a certain generation, you know, like maybe the younger babushkas, because she's not super old. She looks like she's, I don't know, my age. I guess that makes me a dedushka, old man, I guess. So that's a babushka there. So people of our age, at least the women, maybe the babushkas, if you were raised here. Oh gosh, some beautiful birds. Little birds. Too bad I can't show them to you. I've never seen these before. Some yellow. Wow. Gosh. Too bad you didn't see them. You can't see them. When they fly, their wings are like half yellow, like a canary or something. But, so that's about all I'm going to have to say. I don't want to be rambling on and taking your time up. You got to watch something important. Find these important videos. Find out what's really going on in the world. A little bit more. You know, I gave you my take on what's been happening the past couple of days. You got to see Alex Christoforou's video. If you want to hear more about this organ thing, I guess, look up Mike Jones, I Earl Grey. A lot of crazy stuff going on. The world's getting really, really crazy. In the battle in Ukraine, who knows what's going to happen there? Promised offensive or counter-offensive, whatever you want to call it, whatever is going to be going on there. Who knows? You know, this slow grinding that Russia's doing, you know, that might be, you know, the best bet. I was watching something on Outlook Express. I hadn't turned on a computer for a while, and you know, when you buy a computer and I looked on somebody else's computer, you know, this Outlook Express saying how Russia is losing the war. Boy, oh boy, makes you really wonder. I don't watch CNN and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not getting all of this fake news. So when I see it, it really shocks me. I don't know. I should have, you know, I like click on the story and say, where are they coming from? Anyhow, that's all I have to say. And if you're new, if the algorithms brought you here, which I doubt very much, at least not going to happen very much, I tried not to say some of those nasty words that they don't. They're going to make sure that I don't get, that they won't they won't show send my videos to many people if you say the wrong things. But yeah, then subscribe. And I'll be talking more about this when I move to Minsk, probably in 1 week. I know I've been telling everybody 10 days, 10 days. I said that I think maybe almost 3 times now. I don't have full control over a lot of this stuff. You know, it's not my complete decision, and I can't be too insistent and forcing people to do things the way I want to do things. But I think it'll be about a week, and then I'll be going over there. I want to definitely, positively be there before the May 9th parade. I was thinking that they're going to have the head of state of Belarus is going to come here to this town because of all the work they've been doing, but maybe not. Traditionally, I think he's in Minsk, and I'd like to go to Minsk and film the parade on May 9th with the soldiers marching down the street. So, like I said, there's Russian soldiers here too, so they will probably be marching in the parade here, as well as the Belarusian soldiers. So you'll have to join me for that one on May 9th. So subscribe, and then you can see real footage from a really cool guy like me in Minsk filming the May 9th parade. Oh, cat going hunting here. See a bird? Is there a birdie there? Another pregnant female cat. So anyway, if nothing else, push the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.